You looked in the back seat of the car and there was no machete. You still got in the car with the knife. And after you started stabbing the victim and he started climbing out of the car, you got out of the car, followed him, and stabbed him additional times.
Football star is behind bars tonight.
18-year-old Terrence Mitchell is accused of murdering a 27-year-old man who he may have been in a relationship with.
Fox Connecticut's Crystal Hall joins us live now from Bloomfield High School with more on this investigation. Crystal.
Brenton Allison Terrence Mitchell was the captain of the football team. His name was even on tonight's program for the game, but he will not be joining his teammates anytime soon. These court documents reveal what happened last night that led to the death of one man and the relationship the two may have been in. On this Friday night, 18-year-old Terrence Mitchell, captain of the Bloomfield football team, should have been joining his teammates on the field. Instead, he's locked up behind bars, accused of stabbing a man to death. Mitchell tells police the two had been in a sexual relationship for about 2 years and often smoked marijuana and drank alcohol at Taylor's home. About 3 weeks ago, Taylor posted a picture of Mitchell on Facebook with the caption, "Bloomfield gay football player." It was taken down after a few hours. The 18-year-old tells police that Taylor threatened to post it again if he tried to end the relationship.
Now, this parole hearing is different than anything we've seen, and it's not because he was the captain of his high school football team and he had college scholarships and the world was his oyster, but I think it's different because the victim of his crime, he was a man that began to groom him and groomed him for 2 years from the age of 16 to 18. He plied him with booze and marijuana, began a relationship with him, and then threatened to expose him. Actually did make that Facebook post about his orientation. And that's what ultimately triggered this assault. And that could be why he got the manslaughter charge instead of, I suppose, the homicide charge. Now, in my opinion, that changes the entire perspective of how one would view this case. It certainly does for me. Now, we're about to jump in and watch this parole hearing. Now, I want to make a statement. He gives an opening statement that is probably the most thoughtful and well-written statement that we have seen. But due to its length, I shrunk it.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Terrence Mitchell, number 400413. He is serving a sentence of 12 years to serve with 8 years special parole to follow for manslaughter in the first degree. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of March 4th, 2025. There is victim input in this case. There's an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed the following programs: job assignment, anger management, alternatives to violence, basic and advanced, voices, unlock your thinking, good intentions, bad choices, people empowering people, true choices, and advanced life skills. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk system, the offender's overall score of recidivating falls within the low range. Mr. Mitchell, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Is it all right if I can move closer to the table? Because I have paperwork on the table. So,
Yeah.
Thank you. Good morning. First, I would like to start off by thanking the parole board for giving me an opportunity to be heard today. From my understanding, parole is a privilege, and I am very grateful for being afforded this opportunity. Next, I want to apologize to any and everybody I caused harm to physically and mentally by committing my crime. I've had almost a decade to self-reflect and fully understand how my actions cause harm to my victim's family, my family, and my community. Fueled by anger and fear, in November of 2013, I made a reckless and impulsive decision that resulted in me taking the life of Ronald Taylor. 2 years later, I was convicted of first-degree manslaughter, sentenced to a 12-year prison sentence. For my actions on that night, I am truly sorry to the family and friends of Mr. Taylor. I humbly ask for your forgiveness. There is no justification for taking a life. I take full responsibility and I am remorseful for my senseless actions. Every day I spent incarcerated, I've regretted my decisions and wish I handled the situation more civilized. Again, I am truly sorry for the hurt I caused to the Taylor family. I believe I should be granted parole because during my incarceration, I took this time to really reflect and analyze what If this is not possible, I am willing to transition to a halfway house in the meantime. Thank you for taking the time to give me a hearing. I appreciate it.
Well done, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you.
I hope you'll hang on to that and read it from time to time.
Yes.
It covered a lot of ground for us, and I appreciate the effort that you put into it.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
So, having done a deep dive into your case, it's really tragic. And it's really appropriate to hear you offer the apologies that you did. I know when you were before the judge at sentencing, you also offered an apology to Mr. Taylor's family. And I think that goes a long way. They didn't have to wait, 10 years to hear you say it. And it also, I think, is a strong indicator of your character. You didn't avoid the responsibility for your acts that took someone else's life. I read how complicated the relationship was that you had with Mr. Taylor. And I know that you were 18 at the time that you reacted with stabbing him and resulting in the injuries that ended his life. So what we're doing here today is making a decision about whether it's appropriate for you to finish the 12-year sentence you have to serve out in the community on discretionary parole before you begin 8 years of special parole. And what I see is about a 5-month difference between your eligibility date, which is next March, and your end of sentence date, which is in August.
Yes.
So whatever happens here today, just keep the perspective that we're talking about 5 months, okay?
Yeah.
So we're going to each take turns asking you questions. I've obviously started, and I'm going first. And after we finish with questions, we'll hear the input from the Office of Victim Services, and then we'll discuss your case and make a decision.
Okay.
So, I've been on the board just over 7 years. And one of the things that I dislike at these hearings is when the person before us describes themselves as a model prisoner. It feels like an oxymoron to me. Do you know what that word means?
I got it. Kind of. Can you elaborate
Sure.
more?
Sure. It just seems that the two terms contradict each other.
Yeah.
If you were a model, you wouldn't have been a prisoner. And as a prisoner, how can you be model? But honestly, Mr. Mitchell, I would readily apply that label to you. You have had no disciplinary issues your entire incarceration. We expect to see that. We don't see that often enough. And when we see it in someone's situation such as yours, you really are to be commended. You came in as a young person, and that emotional self-regulation is much harder to have a handle on before your brain is fully developed. So you were to be commended for that. And then your involvement in programming, the fact that you sought out mentors and then educated and developed yourself with knowledge, skills, and tools enough to be able to play that role in the lives of others in the True unit is really to be commended.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, I don't say words of praise like this too often or very easily. So I am most sincere in what I am conveying to you. How long were you involved in the True unit?
Well, the True unit is coming on their 8th year anniversary, and I have been there since day one. I was the part of the first group, which is A group. So I've
And
been
did
there
you
since.
go into it as a mentee?
Yes.
And then at what point did you become a mentor?
The beginning of last year, I became a junior mentor, but they had different roles from mentee. Like if you graduate the program, you have 4 phases. So you graduate the program, you become a graduate, and the True program, they keep you in there to see if you own businesses or own programs, facilitate programs. So you're not just staying there and not doing nothing productive with yourself. So after the graduate, it became an influencer. They had an influencer role for guys who wanted to stay in the program and help out with the younger inmates. But then that role became the junior mentor role. And I was already an influencer, so I just transitioned to a junior mentor. So I have one-on-ones with the young mentees. And basically, it's like helping out the certified mentors that's already there, like giving them more like help on navigating and helping these younger guys out, because it could be a lot of work. You have
How does one become a certified mentor? Is that the next stage after junior?
Yes, that's the next stage after junior mentor. So you have like a panel, you have the captain of the unit, the 2 lieutenants, and then counselors and correctional officers. And it's basically like a job interview. They're asking you what can you contribute and
So
help.
do you have to be invited to this panel, or can you apply and ask to be considered?
Well, yeah, you apply, you send a letter, you apply on why you feel like you should be a mentor, and break down in your letter what can you bring to the table. And then,
Have you done that?
well, no, because I have been in there in the program since day one. So everything transitioned with me through my relationships in there, and they just like, I definitely had an interview, but I just didn't like write the letter because I'm already in the unit. So I just had an interview with the captain and the lieutenants, and they gave me basically an opportunity to present why I should be a junior mentor.
Okay, so you did the interview for junior mentor, and to
Yes.
become a certified mentor, you'd have to do that process again?
Yeah, I would have to.
Okay. Is that something you've given any thought to?
I did, but seeing how close I am to going home, it would have been a process to transition into the certified mentor. So with my role as a junior mentor, I just basically have been doing what I can do in the meantime until I discharge, because the whole process would be like, it would have been like for just a short amount of time of me being a certified mentor.
I understand that. You were being realistic.
Mhm.
So when you tried to obtain a commutation and the criteria wasn't waived for you, how did you feel about that?
I kind of felt a little devastated, because it's just like I tried numerous of times with sentence modifications, and I got denied every time. And the commutation
How many times were you denied a sentence mod?
3 times. I denied 3 times. And the commutation, I just heard about it with an opportunity to get it. I forgot exactly what I was doing. I think I was waiving something. I don't remember because it was a while ago. But I just seen it because it was just like a opportunity. Everybody's signing up for commutations, and I'm around a lot of guys that been filing for it. It was like the big buzz of
Yes.
the facility. So I'm like, why not try my shot? Like I'm like, I've been doing everything I had to been doing to stay out of trouble and stuff.
Even though you knew you didn't meet the criteria.
Yeah, I said,
Okay.
yeah, I'll just give it a shot.
I'd say little devastated is probably another oxymoron. Or I'm not sure the two words go together, but
Yeah.
I can appreciate your disappointment in that. So you were 18 at the time and you were 29 now.
Yes.
Your victim was 27.
Mhm.
So now you've officially outlived him. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, first, like I still like want to apologize like for my actions that caused that. Like for me to sit back and like go through daily life and thinking about the actions I did on taking a life, it's just like it's just really like disappointing and hurts me because I didn't mean for any of this to happen. And like every day after that
Well,
night.
I'm going to stop you there, Mr. Mitchell, because I'm not really sure I'm on board with you didn't intend. You did retrieve a knife from the kitchen before you went outside.
Mhm.
You looked in the back seat of the car and there was no machete. You still got in the car with the knife. And after you started stabbing the victim and he started climbing out of the car, you got out of the car, followed him, and stabbed him additional times.
Mhm.
So the intent was there. Whether you were clear-headed at the time, I would like to think not, that anybody could do that to another human being. But my question is, you did take someone's life and, you hit a milestone of your own. You're nearly 30 years old. He didn't get that opportunity. Do you have any thoughts about, did you sit back when you turned 28 and think about the fact that Mr. Taylor didn't get that opportunity in life because of you?
To be honest, this is not something I really like thought about until
Okay.
you presented to me today. And just hearing this come from you now and for me to think about it, it's like I'm just like mind blown, like because I really didn't sit back and think about
Okay.
that.
All right. Well, I would encourage you to do that at some point, when you have a quiet moment or time to yourself. We know that you'll be in the facility several more months yet. So why an electrician?
Well, first of all, my uncle, he has his own electrician company, and I used to see him come by my grandmother's house and fix like certain electrical things in her house without her even paying or anything, just helping her out. And then another thing, everything is becoming electric now, and I'm just like I'm real fascinated with electrical things. Even in here in the DOC, we got tablets now. Everything's very electric now. So I'm a hands-on worker. So everything with me is just hands-on.
Was your uncle a role model for you? I know you said you didn't have your dad and you had your grandfather, but was your uncle part of your life?
Yeah, he was a part of my life. We didn't get to develop a better relationship we could have because he always was working. But whenever we did come in contact, it was always good energy. He would give me advice on things.
Mr. Mitchell, in your opening statement, you said among the programs that stood out most for you was good intentions. Can you tell me what you took away from that?
Well, like I said in my letter, everybody, like even guys I know in here, everybody may think they have good intentions on certain situations, but it's a bad choice at the end of the day. And for me, actually seeing examples of certain role playing in the program, like it just opened my eyes to certain situations. Like you have young guys in here that always try to say, you know what I mean, I wanna help my mom around the house. I wanna make sure she don't pay bills. But then they be like, oh, I'm gonna find a better way to sell drugs and stuff. Like their intentions is pure to help your mom out, but the bad choice is you selling drugs and possibly getting locked up again. Like so that really opened my eyes to certain situations we go through daily life. You might have the good intention, but at the end of the day, it's going to result in a bad choice. And
Well, it's all in how you execute your intentions.
yes,
And, I asked you about that because the situation in which Mr. Taylor lost his life, you took his life, seemed fraught with that to me. Your good intention was to go out to the car, calm him down, find out what he wanted because he was insistent in seeing you.
Mhm.
And your bad choices where you went out armed with a knife. And then, when he physically struck you, you decided to use the knife instead of getting out of the car, walking away, even punching him back, right?
yes.
Have you thought about the application of what you learned from that program to the situation you found yourself, or you put yourself in? I'm not going to say you found yourself. You put yourself in?
Yes, I did. So I always thought about it. Like I always tell myself like why did I have to go out there with that? I could have easily just left the car, went back in the house, and just walked away from the situation. And after that situation, I literally promised myself to not put myself in situations where I have to react in certain ways like that and make bad choices on what's going to be next, because now everything is a thinking process. I think before I react now. If I'd have just sat back and thought, like, not bringing that with me outside, I would have I would have never been here. Mr. Taylor would have still been here. And so I definitely
what you're describing about, thinking before you act, thinking
Yes.
through consequences, that's maturity.
Yes.
So that's definite growth on your part. So when I read your case, it stayed with me for days because I think the part that I struggle with the most is that you got out of the car and pursued Mr. Taylor, who was struggling due to the injuries you had already inflicted. And then you proceeded to stab him additional times. Do you know in your mind why?
At the time, it was more of anger and fear, and it was just like I was scared of retaliation at the time from him, and to be honest, I was not in the right headspace, and just, it was just a little blackout moment for me, and I just had no control over my emotions at the time.
And it was a complicated relationship, wasn't it?
Yes.
And I understand the anger coming from some of the things that preceded this particular encounter in the car.
Mhm.
So have you reconciled yourself to some of that those circumstances?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Well, Mr. Mitchell, thank you for speaking with me today. Whatever the outcome of today's hearing, know that I wish you continued success. I know that you have a solid plan. We don't always see people come before us who have a job offer in the form of a letter. We wish that for people, but you did it, and you have a sponsor, and you have a lot of potential. So I hope you'll do good things out in the world. It's one way to give back, isn't it?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Siskowski.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
You've answered most of my questions in your opening statement and through responding to my colleague, but I just have a couple things. Did anyone help you with that statement? The opening statement was very good.
I actually wrote the whole opening statement, but I had one of my mentors look it over, and he just just changed certain words. That was it. I really wrote this myself. Just got
Okay.
it.
And I know that you said you're a mentor in the True Unit.
Mhm.
So I would encourage you to use what you've learned on making that statement to help others that you're a mentor to. When they make the opening statements, you've touched on all of the things that we look for when someone makes an opening statement.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that you can use that information and help other people so they can articulate themselves as well as you did.
Definitely.
Okay. Have you taken, I mean, you appear to be a very intelligent person. You're articulating yourself, answering these questions very easily. Have you taken any college courses when you're in there? I know you graduated high school, right?
Yeah, I graduated high school. I applied for the Wesleyan course.
Right.
I made it to like the second round, but then I didn't make it to the third round. So, and I think it comes every 4 years. So I tried twice and got denied both times. So I
Okay.
tried, but no college courses.
And I understand you want to be an electrician. Have you thought about what school you want to go to or how you're going to make that happen?
Well, yeah. My uncle, like as I said, he has an electrician company, and he was teaching classes at Porter and Chester.
Okay.
So I was gonna try to apply for Porter and Chester and see if any other colleges give that course. So
Okay,
yeah.
good. Yeah, I would encourage you to take business college classes also if you plan on being having your own electrical company at some point. You know, you appear to be able to handle that type of education. So I would encourage you to further your education, sir. I really don't have a lot of questions. You've answered everything for me. So thank you for talking to us today. I'm going to hand this back over to the chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Chance?
Mr. Mitchell, I think I have maybe two questions. Excuse me. Have you ever thought about why you couldn't confide in any of your family members?
I thought of that, and I don't know if it's in my report, but I actually reached out to one of my cousins that I look as a brother, and his reaction to like just brushing me off, it was like,
I read what he said to you,
yeah,
but talking about, for example, your grandfather, who you had a very, very good relationship with, or your coach at the high school, who you had a very good relationship with, and who even came to court and spoke on your behalf.
yeah.
So I just wondered why.
Maybe I think for me, it was more I thought I could handle the situation. And I feel like I just let the situation go too far without saying anything. Like I could have easily said something to my grandparents that I see every day, but it was just something in me that I'm not even gonna lie. My communication skills back then was not that good. Like even with my family, even though I loved them a lot, I just didn't communicate with them when I was going through stuff or things like that. So I had problems with my communication skills at a young age. Um,
So you kind of felt more comfortable with your cousin.
yeah,
How old was he?
my cousin was about 25, 26 at the time.
Okay, so you have 200 hours of community service that you have to do. Have you thought about where you're going to do them and what you're going to do?
I This is news to me. I didn't know I had 200 hours, but I'm willing to
You
do
can
just
go back to the transcript or what the judge said.
yeah.
And I think it was his way of making sure you get something back to your community when you go back out.
Well, yeah. Well, right now I'm in contact, like I said in my opening statement, with two nonprofit organizations that work on veteran communities. They work with Boys and Girls Club, do book bag drives. I know my mom, she works for CREC, and I know they be having book bag drives and different things for kids in the community and just getting my hands involved with as much as I can to help give back and using my resources.
Okay. All right, thank you. I have no further questions because I think your opening statement pretty much to most of them, and then the chair was very detailed in what she asked you. So I appreciate you sharing all of that.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Ms. Chance, at this point, we're going to turn the hearing over, Mr. Mitchell, to the Office of Victim Services, and we ask you not to speak. Ms. Vasquez?
Good morning, Madam Chair and board members. Before I start reading the statement that I have, I would like to correct my role on the record. My name is Nina Vasquez, and I'm a victim services advocate for the Office of Victim Services. Had the opportunity to speak with family members of the deceased victim, and they wish for me to read this statement on their behalf. And it reads like this. Good morning, board members. This is one of the hardest things I had to do in my life. Basically, it makes us have to relive the moment we lost Ronald. We are the family of Ronald Taylor Jr., the victim of a senseless murder. I'm writing this on the behalf of his family, especially his mom, Jessie Logan, brother and sister. We are the ones who suffer the most, meaning living the rest of our lives without our son, brother, and loved one. When on the other hand, Terrence Mitchell gets to live the rest of his life out loud. On a daily basis, it's a challenge to make it through our day, because at some point we're gently reminded of Ronald and his great loving and giving heart. We miss him so much. Our lives had been forever changed on November 21st, 2013, that evening. Getting a phone call that he was brutally stabbed to death multiple times over and over again. Terrence Mitchell and his friends plotted for a week to get my brother to his house with the intent to murder him, and he did just that. No one deserves to die at the hand of another person. No one has the right to take someone else's life. But for some reason, Terrence, his family, and friends seemed to try and justify it and thought or think anything is and was wrong with his actions. But I guess if it was him laying 6 feet under, they would have a different outlook, because nothing justifies taking someone's life. We see that he's actually getting a second chance of freedom and life, supervised or not. He has the opportunity to get a second chance. Ronald will never get a second chance to do anything because Terrence took that away from him. The sentence he received for murdering Ronald was very unfair. So no, we do not feel he deserves to go. My apologies. So no, we do not feel he deserves to get no type of early release, again, supervised or not. If for nothing, 12 years is the least he can do in prison for taking our loved one's life. Terrence is still young, and God forbid, because it was justified in his world that he did wasn't wrong. It will happen again at the hands of Terrence to someone else, and prayerfully is not someone you love or care about. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to speak in loving memory of Ronald Taylor Jr. Thank you, Madam Chair and board members. This is all I have for today's hearing.
Thank you, Ms. Vasquez. We appreciate that input from the family and respect their feelings as well as appreciate their pain. So we have a decision to make about granting of discretionary parole. And as I pointed out as we began, it's about a 5-month difference for Mr. Mitchell between his eligibility and the end of his sentence before the 8 years of special parole begins. So with the efforts that he's made at rehabilitation, ownership of responsibility, the maturation and growth that he's shown through vocational training, through programming in the facility, through mentoring, and the fact that he has had behavior without issue, I am going to vote to grant early release to Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Sisowskis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I first want to just recognize the victim's statement. It's a very tragic incident. And, you know, I listened to every word that the victims had to say about this. Mr. Mitchell raced low for recidivism.
Thank you for pointing that out. Yes.
He's completed all of the programs asked of him and some. Like everyone's pointed out, he has not had any disciplinary reports over a very long stretch of time. And at a very young age, when making this transition is very difficult into the situation. So I also agree with you, Madam Chair, that I have him granted for parole today.
Okay. Ms. Chance, your thoughts?
So first, I want to acknowledge the family of the victim. And as a mother, I just cannot. I know how she feels about the loss of her son and other family members. It was very tragic. And, my condolences to the victim's family. I listened to Mr. Mitchell today, and I have to agree with both of you in terms of what he has done during the 11 years that he's been incarcerated. And looking at his age at the time, I do agree he completed several programs and has not received any disciplinary report. He's got tons of letters of support. He has a good release plan, and he's a low risk to recidivate. So I'm in favor of a grant.
Okay. So the only condition I had was no contact with the family of the victim, initials RT. Did you have additional conditions you wanted for his discretionary and special parole supervisions?
I do not.
And Officer Mack, it's 3/4/2025.
Yes.
Okay. So in the matter of Terrence Mitchell, inmate number 400413, there's a motion to grant parole on or after your earliest eligibility date of March 4th, 2025, with the condition that standard parole conditions and the addition that you are to have no contact with the family of the deceased, initials RT. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So, Mr. Mitchell, we hope that you will see your parole officer as a resource and a support as you transition from a very long period of incarceration and into a world that's changed a great deal since you were 18. And understand that they have access to programs and services that can help you be successful, because that is what they want for you, as it is also what the board wants for you.
Good luck, Mr. Mitchell.
Good luck.
Thank you.
This concludes the hearing for Terrence Mitchell, number 4000413.
Yes, absolutely. And as we approach the
Hey, it's not a football celebration, but it's, I guess, as good as it gets, right? And again, it's my standpoint. We got to look at the bottom line. He was 16 years old when this 25-year-old man started this. That's sexual assault. I mean, he's getting a felony for each time that he would have groomed this boy. And he was a boy at the time. He was 18 when he killed him. But remember, it started at 16. Imagine you raise a child and you raise him where he's the star of the football team. He's excelling in everything he does. He has college scholarships, and there's a 25-year-old that's doing this. And then even escalates it and pushes it to the point where he threatens to blackmail him. And Sir Richard has a point here in the notes, and he says there are literally hundreds of articles online sensationalizing the gay football player and not headlining the fact that an assaulted teen ends in a nightmare. Richard goes on to say the media drove this, and if they hadn't been so intent on smearing football and presenting and instead it presented it the fact that there was a juvenile who was being sexually assaulted, he might not have gotten a 20-year sentence. Now it was 20 years with 12 years to serve, but again, let's keep it like that is what happened. And it was interesting because the parole board, they were trying to like get it out of him, but he was very he didn't he was very well thought out, and he didn't blame. He's not blaming the victim. He's not doing any of that. Those are the words that are coming out of my mouth. And with 6 months left on his sentence, I have to assume that he really means it. But I don't want to put words in his mouth. We have seen many different parole hearings, and we have seen parole hearings where people will take the time with just 6 months left on their sentence to claim innocence. We're talking about sexual assault or something, because they've done the calculation and they realize might as well keep the story that they're innocent. And we have seen those that have 20 years left on their sentence claim their innocence. I hope I'm not losing you here. I'm not talking about innocence. I'm drawing a parallel about what, he could have chosen this moment, I suppose, to say, hey, this guy he drove me there. It's his fault. And he chose not to. And there's never an excuse to take a life, of course. But I can't get over the fact that he was being victimized by this man. And this is, I suppose, it's, I don't know. It's not just I don't think it's just me that feels this way. There's a and I wish I could screen share it for you, but I'll put the link in the description. The reason I'm not screen sharing it is I don't understand YouTube's guidelines with screen sharing comments. I have no idea, so I don't mess around with that. But on this YouTube post where True Crime Tea Time, which Sir Richard found, where I was able to pull the initial news articles. I'll just read to you all of the comments here, and this is what it is. What's also interesting, and I'm reading it in order, I'm not skipping. What's also interesting is that the guy that was killed was also stabbed previously by another minor. I didn't fact check that, but that's the first comment. People are talking about a pedo being killed like it's a bad thing. It's sickening that they keep calling the youth a man. He was a child when the relationship began, and that means everything in an abusive relationship. This poor boy was groomed by a pedo. The boy should be set free immediately. He did not want to be with the guy, but the guy blackmailed him, a crime in itself, and kept pestering, eventually turning up to his home unannounced when the boy refused to see him. I don't feel sorry for the older guy being killed, because why would a grown man mess with a 16-year-old? That's SA. No 25-year-old should be hanging out with a 16-year-old. So basically, the old dude made the young man never allow friendship to happen between a minor and adult. I feel bad for the young man. In a lot of ways, he's the victim as well. I mean, I think a lot of people feel this way. Call me crazy, but I don't know. Now they also have a there's an episode on Oxygen about this called, and I could put that in. It's episode number 5. Oh, actually, it's only a sneak peek, but they have an episode on Oxygen about this case. And now I can screen share with you some of the news articles to go into more detail. It is interesting to me that I guess they just took a plea deal, but I'd wonder why a judge, we see all these sentences for less. Here is and the judge doesn't give him. It's still, he's still spent the prime, not the prime. He's still very young, but still spent a long time in prison. So a Bloomfield High School football player accused of fatally stabbing a male friend last month has been sexually assaulted by the man in the past, according to the court documents. So it's a part of the legal record. The allegations was one of the many points that his lawyer made in a motion requesting reduction in his client's bail. The 20-page document filed Friday so that Mitchell's bail was reduced from $1 million to $500,000. That's what the judge gives him. He gives him half off. A judge on Tuesday that's what they were asking for. A judge on Tuesday rejected the request, but Mitchell's family posted the bail with help from a bail bondsman hours after his court appearance. The lawyer wrote that his client's admission that he fatally stabbed Ronald Taylor, also known as City, could support defense that Mitchell was defending himself or that he didn't intend to kill Taylor. Judge Joan Alexander questioned the self-defense suggestion during Mitchell's court appearance and noted that Mitchell initially lied about what had happened, blaming unidentified people wearing hoodies for the stabbing. Prosecutors Thomas Garcia told the judge that Mitchell, by his own admission, chased down the unarmed man twice during the fatal confrontation and stabbed him multiple times. No one directly mentioned allegations that Mitchell had been sexually assaulted in the court. But in his motion, he wrote, an adult provided drugs and sexually assaulted the defendant when he was a minor, and then attempted to use that threat of disclosing the defendant's past victimization, along with the threat of actual physical violence, to force the defendant to engage in sexual contact. Taylor had posted on Facebook that Mitchell was a Bloomfield gay football player. Mitchell told police, he said Taylor left the post up for 5 hours before deleting it, but later threatened to post it again if Mitchell didn't stop distancing himself from him. In his motion, he pointed out that his client has no criminal record and that he was a strong family ties to contributing members of the community who included his mother, an administrator of the special projects at the Capital Educational Council, and his grandmother, a paralegal specialist at the Attorney General's office. Wow. What a special, this family. It's like you do everything, all that hard work. It's just, but it is incredible. We don't see, have we ever seen someone in Connecticut for murder with no write-ups? You see it for Chomo cases, but after posting bail on Tuesday, Mitchell avoided reporters and rushed to a waiting car, and a jacket draped over his head. I'm just happy to have my son. We have a long road, but I would rather he fight from home than in prison. She said she hopes that Bloomfield High School senior can earn his diploma and graduate on time. Under the conditions of his release, Mitchell will be under house arrest and must wear an electronic monitoring device. He will not be permitted to leave his home except for a court order or an emergency. It wasn't clear Tuesday whether he will be tutored. Smith was one of 7 people who made positive comments about Mitchell. According to the police report, November 21 stabbing, Mitchell told investigators he met Taylor about 2 years ago through a stepbrother. A month or 2 after meeting Taylor, he was smoking marijuana and drinking alcohol at the house. He told police that he and Taylor engaged in sexual relations. Mitchell just wanted to be friends with Taylor, but Taylor wanted more and that he wanted to have a relationship with him. The day of the stabbing, Taylor texted Mitchell and told him that he was coming over that day and it wasn't going to end well, Mitchell told investigators. Mitchell said he took this to mean that Taylor would end the relationship and do something outrageous. Mitchell put a steak knife in his right front pants pocket, he told police. He got into the front passenger seat of Taylor's car. Taylor, who was in the driver's seat, asked to see his cell phone. Taylor became jealous that Mitchell had sent cheerful text messages to girls. Taylor started to yell at Mitchell and positioned his pointer and middle fingers like a gun, the report says. He started mushing the sides of Mitchell's head, Mitchell told police. Taylor hit Mitchell in the face, and Mitchell pulled a knife out of his pocket and stabbed Taylor twice, he told police. Taylor climbed over to him. Mitchell stabbed him as he did, the report says. Taylor opened the passenger side door and started running away. Mitchell started chasing Taylor, who said, I take it back. I don't mean to do this, Mitchell told investigators. They ran into the front yard of a neighboring house. Oh, God, they just showed an address. I hate when they YouTube. And Taylor turned toward him and held his hands up in the air, the report says. I'm just going to have to hide it. Mitchell said he stabbed him again, according to the report. Taylor fell, got up, and ran again, this time into Mitchell's front yard. Again, another address. Great. I'm just going to have to block out this part where they mention addresses, so that's why you're not seeing the article. The report says Mitchell followed him again and he told police and stabbed him one last time, 5 times in all, the report says. He left the knife in his back. Taylor pulled it out. Taylor was stabbed by another teen in the summer of 2012, according to court documents. This is that mention of the comment. I mean, that's not a red flag, all right? Huh. In that case, a teenager who is younger than Mitchell allegedly stabbed Taylor in the left side of his torso. Taylor said the teen who had slept over at Taylor's house the night before had a blank expression on his face during the attack. This disposition of that case isn't public because the teen was prosecuted as a juvenile. Hello. Hello. I mean, there you have it, right? I don't know. Look, I mean, obviously chasing him down and doing it in the way it is, maybe if it had happened a different way, if it was one stab wound or something, that would have been a little lighter on him. It was pretty, and I don't know why he didn't articulate it in the parole hearing. One would almost think, And it was like the parole board was trying to get that out of him, but he didn't articulate why. He just said what he said. He just said he lost it, and I don't know. The kind of the idea of that is interesting to me. But what are your thoughts? Should he have not been paroled? I always say, hey, if it's going to hurt the victim's family, don't parole. This is a clear case where I would be yelling. If it was any other case, I'd be saying it's 6 more months. Don't hurt the victim. Don't hurt the victim, his mother. Just keep him in for 6 more months. This case, I feel it's different. I feel like he was a victim himself, and I don't think he should have gotten the long sentence as it is. Just, anyways, there you have it. And with that, I'll let you go.
So when I read your case, it stayed with me for days, because I think the part that I struggle with the most is that you got out of the car and pursued Mr. Taylor, who was struggling due to the injuries you had already inflicted. And then you proceeded to stab him additional times. Do you know in your mind why?
At the time, it was more of anger and fear, and it was just like I was scared of retaliation at the time from him, and to be honest, I was not in the right headspace, and it was just a little blackout moment for me, and I just had no control over my emotions at the time.